All right, what's up, everybody? It's the 4th and Goal broadcast. Tonight, we got Allie Goodman, super fan for the Miami Dolphins. How are you doing tonight, Allie?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. It's kind of funny. I don't know. I really don't know how I even found you on Facebook. I think it was through some football groups. I added you, and then I realized you were a super fan.
Yeah.
And I kind of like behind the scenes, just like followed your posts to see what type of stuff you did. And one thing that stuck out to me is like I see you doing all this charity stuff, and you really put a lot of effort into it. And I think that's so cool that you
Thank
do all
you.
that. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a passion. I mean, it's something that, as the years went on, like the term super fan is weird, like anybody can be a super fan, but like you get to this point where you're like, okay, like I have this, Dolphins room and like I have all this, memorabilia and I'm involved in all this Dolphin stuff. And like, how can I now, take like, my social media following or whatever and like do it, in a way that does something good for the community. So over the last couple of years, I've been able to do a couple things. So it's been fun.
Yeah, and you're right. Everybody can be a super fan, but to me, is it's really cool here. Is I don't know if you ever met Crackman. The Lion, he's like the big Lions super fan. He's always at the draft, and he's been on TV quite a few times. He actually goes to the bar I bowl at, and I've got to talk to him like a few times. But he's always there with everybody, and every time comes in, everybody wants to drink and party with him. So I don't really get that much one-on-one time with them.
Yeah.
So to me, when I see that, like I see other super fans, but then you see them special ones that actually like stick out and are out there and they're actually meeting the players, the coaches, and they have the ability to do more things than the average fan, which is pretty cool because I feel like it really takes a lot to get noticed by the organizations and the league itself. And I felt like you've came a long way, especially with being a finalist for Fan of the Year last season, which that was pretty awesome because I know I voted for you like every day.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
Yeah, that was
welcome.
amazing. It's still like kind of surreal that even happened.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is when I seen you out in Hollywood or California per se, I'm like, dang, that's crazy. Then I seen you at the game and you was it Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like how do I need to get this going? And
Yeah,
then
that was
later
funny
on,
story.
well,
I,
it all played out when you released that you were in the commercial, and that's why you were
yeah.
out there. And I was like, now that kind of makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, the
you
commercial
know?
had to be like top secret. Like we couldn't tell anybody what we were doing. You could say that you were out there, but you couldn't say like exactly what was going on, and it was killing me. Obviously, I was glad at some point like the secret broke, and you guys got to see the commercial, the 1 second, that I was in it. But yeah, I told they were like, they paid for our flight out there and our flight back, and I was like, you know what? Like, as far as like the flight back, like, I need to ask a favor. Like, can you send me to Buffalo instead of back
Miami.
home? Because I need to be at this game. It's the first time the Dolphins have been in the playoffs in so long. And I just need to be there. And they're like, yeah, let's like see what we can do. And so they were able to reroute my flight over there. And it was great.
That works awesome. That was probably the coolest thing. Even like watching the Super Bowl and actually seeing the commercial. It was funny because my best friend, uh, he's seen the commercial, and I'm like, "You see the Miami fan?" I'm like, "I've talked to her a few times. I followed her for like 2, 3 years," and he's just like, "What? Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't even. And to me, I don't know if I was this like the first year they did a commercial for Fan of the Year.
So this wasn't even about fan of the year. This was just so it was just me and Susan from the Cardinals. We were the only two fans of the year in the entire thing. I mean, there were previous fans of the year there, but this was
Okay.
not anything to do with fan of the year. This was just a bunch of super fans, and actually a half of them were actual real people, like real super fans, and the other half were actors.
Okay.
So it was like I know it's not the first time they've ever done like commercials like that, A lot of them that I met out there had said that they had been in commercials before for different things involving the NFL, but this, I think, was the first time they ever had a Super Bowl halftime show commercial with like fans in it. And so to be a part of it was really cool. It was really cool.
That's what I was going to say, because after I seen that commercial and like just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a commercial like that before. Like I've seen them like in the draft, stuff like that, or maybe, and I've seen like super fans advertise for like the Lions local, but I've never really seen it in the Super Bowl with the league. And I thought that was awesome for all you guys, because I know you guys spend a lot more money than the average Joe fans. So
it's all consuming, for me.
Exactly.
I can speak for myself, but I know I speak for a lot of the other super fans when I say it's all consuming. It's not just football season anymore, or like just buying your season tickets. It's, it's outfit planning, it's hosting watch parties, it's hosting, fan events in the off season. We just got done with our Southwest Florida beach bash, and that was basically all consuming for me for 2 months. And so now I'm straight chilling for just like a month and a half until I'm off to Canton for the Hall of Fame enshrinement. But it is all consuming, and it like, especially with social media too, like with Twitter and Instagram, and you stay engaged. You have to stay engaged, and for me, it's always addressing issues with the fans. Like if they have, they're trying to plan their trips for the season, or, someone's ill and needs funds, or, like all kinds of things, like you name it. Like I get all kinds of requests, year round. And so it is consuming to try to answer everything. And I do, try to get through all the messages daily. And sometimes I'm a little slow going with it because it's a task in itself. And I'm a mom and a, full-time pharmacist and like wife, and, wear many hats and stuff. So I know a lot of fans understand the struggle.
Yeah. And that was another thing I was going to say, like you got a good husband, because it seems like you guys pull it off. And that was like another thing I wondered. I'm like, man, they got 2 kids. They both got work. And it seems like you guys are always doing something with your kids at the same time everything's going on. And I give you guys props, because it's sometimes, I don't know how you do it. Just sitting on the outside looking in on your Facebook and your posts, and I'm just like, this is real dedication. And honestly, deep down, like I've always kind of dreamed of maybe getting to that point. But seeing how much work actually goes into it makes me really like, my life's already crazy as it is. Can I really add that to the mix?
Yeah, you definitely need her support. Like I would not be able to do anything that I do without my husband's support and without my parents, watching the kids on game weekends, and, our babysitter, and like all the people. It does take a village to like make all this stuff happen. And, luckily I do have a lot of support when it comes to the kids. And then, when we're not doing football stuff, like it's all about the kids. It has to be, because, I can't have them feeling neglected and being like, my upbringing sucked because my mom was obsessed with the Dolphins. Like, no, and like they'd be like, I don't want to be a Dolphin fan because of that. No, absolutely not. Like I try to, integrate them into the Dolphins shenanigans as much as possible. They come to all of our watch parties. They haven't been to a game yet. But mostly that's because it is dangerous, and with a lot of like the attention that I get during the day, it's just constant, people in my face, and like to watch a 5 and a 6-year-old in a stadium, with 1 million people, it's just, it's not something that I've wanted to take on yet. But my daughter sat me down. She's like, I need to know why you're not bringing me to the games. And I'm like, I gotta, she's like, you need to sit down. I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. She's like, go sit down on the Dolphin bed. And I'm like, okay. So I sit down on the bed. She sits on the couch, and she's like, I need to know why you're not bringing me to the games when kids are allowed to come. And I said, I know kids are allowed to come, but like you guys would not like it because of how much talking mommy does.
Yeah.
So they're starting to get it.
Yeah, I was the same way, because see, like with football, for me, football came on my own. Like my dad's a big Lions fan. My grandpa's a Lions fan, but not so much. He's more NHL, Red Wings. So ever since I was born, he got season tickets for the Red Wings. So that's the sport I actually grew up and learned from age 4. Like at 4 years old, I could name you every player on the Red Wings. So I was like that a lot. He would take me to preseason games, and then the regular season would start when I was young, and I would be like, well, when can I go to the game?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're not old enough to go to a real regular season game because regular season, real fans come, people are drinking, people get a little rowdy. And it was a long time. And I think it was like about 7 years old. He had somebody cancel. And I think it was a Colorado Avalanche back when the Red Wings had the big time rivalry. Like there was always fight, blood, drama going on. And he had no one to go with him that night. And he last resort, he took me. And he was like, I should not be taking you to this game. This is the wrong game to take you to. And it went good. Nothing happened. But I'm kind of glad it happened because right after that, he's like, all right. Then I started able to go to regular season games. When he learned that I could be mature and sit in the seats and let him drink his beer, enjoy the game. He was good after that.
Yeah. We're going to try it out. So, we're Rangers fans in this house. So, we did go to a hockey game this past year and the kids loved it. In fact, we were losing 2-0 and they were crying.
That's funny.
So I was like, I know this is definitely in your blood, guys. Like you love this just like I do. And so, that was definitely like their first like sporting event sort of thing. And, we're going to try because we have one home preseason game this year. So I'm going to try to bring the family and we're going to see how it is. Cause I figure, worst case scenario, if it gets to be too much and we have to leave early, at least it's just preseason, right?
Exactly. And that's how my grandpa did it for a lot of years for all of us grandkids. It wasn't just me, like my brother and sisters, same deal. It was preseason games. And then once you got mature enough and he felt comfortable, then he started taking us to the regular season games. And for a long time, I didn't realize like what he was talking about. But as I got older, I'm like, now I know what he's talking about. Because we've had some crazy experiences in the stadium, especially playoff time. Like back in 08, Wings had it when we won the cup in 08. We were there for like game 5. We won it in game 6, but we went to 3 overtimes in game 5. And that was the most craziest stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like there was guys peeing in garbage cans.
Yeah.
Sinks. Anywhere because everybody was so intoxicated at the arena. Yeah. They did not have enough bathroom capacity. I had a dad try to fight me because I grabbed this kid in the bathroom because this kid was about to touch a sink filled with pee. And I just stopped this kid and he freaked out, which I would too, if some random person touched my kid in the bathroom. But I was like, dude, look at that sink, man. I'm doing this pure out of, just trying to be responsible adult, before your kid touches all that.
And you'll see crazy stuff at football games too. And I just I know there's alcohol everywhere and there's, it's no secret there's drugs out there and all kinds of things going on. So I just haven't, been really feeling ready, especially with my daughter. I'm very, protective of her, especially with this crazy, social media following that I have. That's why I don't really post the kids very much. I'm trying to protect them as much as possible. So.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. But fortunately, I've only went to 2 Lions games personally. And just a lot of it, it's just the money cap. So I've been trying to save up, get my season tickets because I feel like that's way cheaper.
Yeah.
Because we went to a game, we actually seen the Lions play Jacksonville this year. And it was a great game because we actually killed them. And but we paid so much money. And I'm like, this is just one game. This is ridiculous. At this point, investing in season tickets is more of a good investment than buying single tickets. Yeah. Because once you got to buy them off the sites, people raise the prices sky high, and I know it's going to be horrible this year because now.
Oh, yeah. Because you guys are going to be good.
Exactly. They're already projecting us, the North champs and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're not going to get a Lions ticket at all this season for a reasonable price.
You definitely should have got your season tickets last year.
I probably should have. I totally regretted it too.
But it is that's a really good point that you make, that it's expensive to go to the games. And, I would say most of my salary goes towards affording that. And so I work a lot of overtime this time of year just to pay for, all my trips and everything. And even just like to get a water with ice in the stadium is $10. And like out in Miami, you need it, because you're not going to survive otherwise. So, it's very, very expensive. And so, this is my third year having season tickets. And, I was doing like the same kind of thing where I would just buy like game to game or buy off of friends, or, sometimes people would give me tickets and things like that. And so I never felt like I needed them until I started going more regularly. And then I was like, okay, I need season tickets because this is,
because I mean, like between the NHL and the NFL, like there's a huge price gap. Like my grandpa has prime center ice tickets in the new Red Wing Stadium right now.
Yeah.
And every time I went to the game, like a lot of out of state fans come Pittsburgh. Like I went to a Pittsburgh game. There was like probably like 5 or 6 Pittsburgh fans sitting, and they all said like these are like the best seats in the stadium. And I'm like, yeah. And he's paying $75 a pop for his 3 seats.
Yeah.
But it's $75. Yeah. And then I look at Lions, and one ticket's like $130, and I'm like, that's just one.
Yeah.
And here's a team that's won 10 times more championships than obviously the Lions. So it just blows my mind on the price gap of NFL compared to any other sports.
Yeah. The NFL is crazy expensive.
Exactly. And I didn't realize that until I started like getting older myself. Because I always wondered, I'm like, Dad, we never went to football games. Why?
Yeah.
We watched them every Sunday growing up in Michigan on Saturday, but we never went to any of the games. Nope. And I'm like, now I understand why.
Yeah.
Because you're paying crazy amount of money.
Yeah. Now I'm faced with, eventually having season tickets for a family of 4.
Yeah. Oh, I give you props because.
Oh. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
And you're making the best of your opportunities.
Yeah.
Of it. So it's possible one day you might be able to find your own income off of your stuff.
Who knows? Like I've had many opportunities to monetize, and like I don't want this ever to get to the point where it becomes a job. Running a fan club is already a job. Running a charity, those things do feel like a job because they are, and they're very important. And I don't want like Dolph Freaky to feel like a job, because this is like my fun thing, like
this is your escape
my hobby
from reality.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, you could sell merch or shirts, or the one thing I get all the time is you should do OnlyFans. And I'm like, to what? Like I don't want to have to sacrifice my ethics and my morals, and like be shady and be a business person with this. Like this is supposed to be fun, and I want it to stay this way.
Exactly. I don't agree with a lot of OnlyFans myself. To me, it's just dumb, because I'm amazed that people are actually making money.
They're making millions, like just selling pictures of their feet, and like sure, like I could do that, right? But like it's just not,
exactly. No, I totally get what you're saying.
Day job pays the bills,
Exactly.
I'll stick with that.
To me, how I look at it is, we all know the internet. You can have everything you're getting on that for free.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, for free. Why am I paying for something on the computer that's not real?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those girls are never going to like you.
Exactly. They only like me if I'm giving them money. It's the same thing going to a strip club. They only like you because you're giving them money. As soon as you start giving them money, they're on to the next.
Exactly. It's all a business.
Exactly. It's all about making the Benjamins.
Yeah.
So let's start with some football questions. How do you feel how your last season went? Were you satisfied, even though it was kind of rocky there?
No, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't satisfied because Tua was out, a lot of games, and it's just like we couldn't see our real potential because he was gone. And, it was traumatizing. And, to see him, suffering these concussions and then wondering, and then, the fans just like, Tua's always just been a source of like bickering and division and stuff in our fan base. And then to like have him go down like that, like to see people still bickering over it. And, oh, should he play again? And like, what should he do? Like, he should think about his family and his wife and his new baby and, all these things. It was so rough.
Oh, I can imagine on that aspect, but just like on the outside, not being a like, true fan of Miami, is I thought even that all had played out, I still felt like you guys had a solid season.
We did.
Because most teams would have fell apart and probably not even made the postseason.
Yeah.
After that.
I'm satisfied that we at least made it to the playoffs. I'm not satisfied the fact that we played Buffalo that well and just narrowly missed getting on to the next round like that. Like that broke my heart into a million pieces because I didn't honestly expect us to be super competitive in that game, and then to see us be able to be, and then, just miss it. It was rough. Like I needed like a little bit of a break after that. And I didn't get a break because then it was, onto the Super Bowl and like the big fan of the year trip and everything. So I didn't really get a break.
I could imagine because, losing in the playoffs, losing especially how your season play out, sometimes you just want that break. You don't even want to talk football online. You don't even want to talk to your friends about football. And then you got that trip right after, and you got no choice to talk football and talk about the season.
Yeah, and it's such a whirlwind of a season, with Tyreek coming on board. Like we started like so excited, like all the hype and everything. And we just had like then like the tampering thing with Brady, and like it's just like one thing after the next.
Yeah.
And then Tua's injury was like the last thing that any of us saw happening or wanted. So but in general, like I think we played really well. And so if he could stay, healthy this whole season, I don't really see us losing many games. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago where we went through the schedule. I don't know, I have my little paper here somewhere, but I had, we had written down each one, and I'm like, I feel like this is winnable. I feel like this is winnable. I feel like this is winnable. If everyone's healthy, there's like a big asterisk on every game.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I'm not sleeping on Miami. I wasn't sleeping on Miami last season. A few people came at me like, you really think Miami's gonna be a good team? And I'm like, dude, have you looked at their wide receiver core?
Yeah.
Like, you give any quarterback the two fastest receivers in the league. I don't care who you are. You could be the crappiest quarterback in the league, and you're probably going to put up some nice numbers and put some wins on the board.
Yeah, even if you look at Tua's numbers, despite him being out, was it like 6 games? Despite that, he was still leading the NFL in most categories. So, it's very positive where we're at right now, but we're all very cautious. So like, there's not a whole lot of hype going on right now. Like everyone's just kind of chilling.
Yeah, I think a lot has to play out. And I feel like I hate saying it because I don't wish injuries on anybody in the league, but I feel like there's a big cloud hanging over to see how Tua plays this season. But I love the move by adding Mike White as a backup QB because he showed with the Jets this past season, he got a cannon on him.
Yeah.
And he can throw that deep ball. So it's like, even something bad happens to Tua again, I still think Miami is a team that you got to worry about because I feel like he could step right in and start slinging the ball because Waddle and Hill, they're going to get open.
Yeah.
There's no stopping
too. The Dolphins have seen, we've gone through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Nobody expected Teddy Bridgewater to be getting hurt, bam, like right after Tua. And then to have Skylar Thompson have to take the helm, like in the playoffs too, like, it was like so nerve wracking. But I know the Dolphins quarterbacks coaches are like definitely preparing all of them because we've seen, what happens. You can run through them real fast.
I mean,
everybody's got to be ready.
You could look at the 49ers last year. It was like, boom, hurt, backup gets hurt, I can't even think of his name right now. And I know their rookie from last year. The crazy thing is, if you go back to Brady, same thing happened with Brady.
Yep.
Drew Bledsoe gets hurt. Brady comes in and then all of a sudden Brady's the best quarterback for 20 something years.
Yep.
You know,
I would like to think that we have a system now that like any quarterback can come in and, be successful. Those receivers are able to, make the plays. And so I'm interested to see like how the O-line is going to hold up this year. I'm worried. Like I know every time Tua gets hurt, like the entire stadium is going to be holding their breath. So that, it's just one of those, it's like a big cloud hanging over us.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it kind of sucks, but I think I don't think Tua is a bad quarterback, and I don't think he really has a health problem. I think it all came down to the doctor.
There was a lot of things going on there.
It was clear as day that the doctor missed something, because they're like, oh, he fell on the field because his back. And I'm like, that might have happened, but he looked dizzy as he was walking.
Yeah.
You don't just fall like that from a back injury, and you can clearly see you're concussed. And then the very next week, boom.
Yeah, and I was frustrated because, the end of the Packers game, when things just all fell apart and like we were just like we couldn't see, that he was stumbling or anything. But, to see like just the terrible, decision making and interceptions, like we were like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong? Like, there's no way in hell that Tua did not know there was something wrong with him at that point in that fourth quarter. How do you not know?
Oh, he definitely knew. But,
there's some responsibility that lies, beyond the doctors with the individual themselves. When there's something not right with you, you do have to, maybe remove yourself from the situation, because obviously it could cost you the game or it can cost you your long-term health. So there's a lot of things going on there that,
exactly
probably will never know.
And to me, that's just athlete, if you look at Kachuk for the Panthers, they just said he played with a broken sternum in game 4.
Yeah.
And his brother had to help him get dressed, help him put his uniform on, get out of bed. And I'm like, dude, who let this guy even play?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the playoffs though. Like, and he was having such a season. There was no way that he was going to step away.
There was another defenseman on the Panthers that played with a separated shoulder and a broken foot.
Yeah, you remember the guy who got sliced with the skate on his face and needed 70 stitches or something and came back out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's adrenaline, and it's, I've never been there, so I don't know the feelings, but I know like you just feel like you have a duty to your team, and that's the kind of player you want.
When I played defensive tackle when I played in high school. And I actually pulled my not my MCL, my PCL, and back of my knee, and it stops your knee from going like backwards. And it wasn't like I didn't rip it, so I didn't have to have surgery or nothing, but I pulled it. And I went to my trainer, and she was like, "Yeah, you definitely pulled this. I can feel it catching in your knee." And I was like, "Well, what are the chances I could play?" And she was like, "Well, if you can play and I don't see you grab it at all, I'll let you play. But if you grab it, then you're done." So she agreed not to tell the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And I played all season on it. And I did it, obviously, in high school. You don't get pain pills or nothing.
Yeah.
So it was not fun. But I still played because I was like, no, man, I want to play. Like, this ain't going to stop me.
Yeah.
And it hurt at times, especially playing when it rained or snowed, or, you lose that traction and your legs are slipping and your knees all messed up. It's not fun.
That's dedication.
I thought I thought it was worse than that, because that morning before I talked to her at practice, I actually walked up our first set of stairs to school in my class, and my knee gave out and I fell down like the first 6 stairs. And I got back up, I made it all the way up, I made it through the day, and I'm like, no, I'm still playing. I'm like, it was hard at times, but I made it through. So, I mean, I can see why those players, I relate to it because it's like being a fan. It's like doing all the things you do to be what you want and have fun. But these guys, this is their whole life.
Yeah.
And, in the NFL too, I feel like, especially for like for Tua being a young quarterback, it takes that one quarterback to come in behind them and, maybe take the team to almost championship. And then bam, you're just forgot
Out of
about,
a job. Yep.
And you've seen it happen so much. Look at Seattle and Smith.
Yep.
He misses the only year he missed in the Jets was the year he got his jaw broke by his teammate.
Yep.
And Fitzpatrick came in there of all people, and basically ruined his career for a good chunk there. I was actually really happy for Geno, even though they did not lose the last game and cost the Lions from not going to the playoffs. But that was our fault. We had a chance to beat Seattle, we blew it. So, but it was good to see a player lose his starting job, get bounced around, and then come back, and then now to see him get a contract, a real starting contract, and get to play again. That's awesome. And that's why I love the league. I always love those players that come from nowhere and to just become one of the best players in the league.
If Skylar Thompson had been able to get us that win in Buffalo, like that would have been insane.
Yeah.
And there would be a high drama.
Oh, for sure. Because could you imagine if he beat Buffalo and then went the next week and got you to the conference championship?
Yeah. Or who knows how far we would have gone. And it would have been so much drama in this fan base.
Exactly. And I feel like Miami and Detroit relate a lot. Even though you got a better history, you actually won Super Bowls. We haven't. But for the last
long suffering
my whole life, Miami's always been up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you, as a fan base, you guys are just as hungry as the Lions to actually see them do something. And I know you stuck with them when they tanked for so many years. But I hate to say it, I know it sucked, but it's starting to pay. I feel like it's about to pay off here soon.
I hope so. I hope so.
you guys got my guy Ramsey.
Yeah, I know.
I was hoping he was coming to Detroit.
Yeah, no, we're excited about Ramsey for sure. And the whole tanking thing, like when you think about all the years since then, and like here we are, like at the culmination of like those decisions back then, it's kind of insane, like to think like this could all work out or it could all not.
Honestly, it's really how it works out. I mean, look at LA. To me, they had to buy that championship at the end with Stafford because their window closed dramatically. But they did the same thing because by the time they went out to California, they weren't even selling out the stadium in the college before they got the new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they got that new stadium, it was like, boom, they're a good team. And
like,
okay.
Isn't that weird?
And that's how it works. And I like and honestly, out of all the sports, the NFL has the best draft.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact, and I hate it, and I love the fact that it's like I love and hate the tanking. I love it because if you do tank good enough, you actually have a shot at the first pick.
Yeah.
Why I hate tanking in other sports is like the Pistons just did it this year to get that 7-4, I forget, Victor Wama or something, I think, prospect. They had like the worst record, one of the worst records in the NBA this year, and they get the pick like 8th.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
Because that's a lottery, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how can you be the worst team and you're still picking 8th? And here's the team in the playoffs and they get to pick 2. I'm like, this makes no sense. You're just
that was part of the drama, like around the tanking season. Should we go to a lottery system so we don't have these teams tanking? Or for some reason, people still don't think tanking is like a thing.
Yeah. taking
but
is
it
the
is.
total thing.
And yeah, like I think a lottery system would help that, but it is fun, like the way that we have it. It's
I think it's
easy
the
for the
best
bad
way
teams to get
because
better.
if you think about it, the lottery system, yeah, okay, lotto system, you put the lottery system, you're going to get more teams. They're going to play competitive sports, which they're going to play every game competitive. So yes, you're going to get some better games out the mix. But at the end of the day, you're still screwing teams.
Yeah.
Because that one team that is truly bad, they're not going to be able to get the players they need to change that. And
Yeah.
that's why I feel like if you go to hockey, that's always been lotto. And you see so many franchises year after year after year just being bad. Like Buffalo Sabres. I like them as an organization, I like them as a team, but they've been rebuilding like my whole life. Or not my whole life, but since like 2000 and up. They have not really been a good team. Now they're just now finally coming around and becoming an up and coming team. But they still went over like 10 years of being one of the worst teams in the NHL. Like in the NFL, you would have that happen to so many teams.
Yeah.
And then you got to look at the season length. That's 10 miserable years for a team and a fan base.
Yeah. You're right.
I mean, that's the biggest problem in Detroit is we've had the tools, but we've never had the right people in charge to take advantage of those tools. Just trying to buy people scraps.
Yeah.
Like I've mentioned with David on a few of our shows, for instance, I don't know if you remember him. He played with the Rams. He's actually a coach for us right now. And then we got him after he won the Super Bowl with the Rams, Dre Bly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we signed him, he was on the tail end of his career, but we paid him like a superstar. And our media treated him like a superstar, which gratefully he was a great cornerback. But by the time we got him, he really didn't do much for us. And I'm like, and he's supposed to be the guy to change our whole team around.
It's crazy, right? There's so many moving pieces. There's so many combinations of moving pieces. There's so much strategy and so much I'm just glad I'm not a coach or a GM because that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work because if you notice too, why the draft is so important nowadays for the NFL is with the money these players are getting paid.
Yeah.
Because now you're letting go of prime time players in their prime that you really want to keep, but you're not going to overpay them because you got to pay your quarterback or your wideout or this player. So you keep going to draft. That's only why, I always go back to Kansas City. They have mastered this salary cap. They have mastered how to be good every year and still pay their quarterback that type of money.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you got to have the draft. Yeah. If you can't draft good, you're not going to make it long. I mean, sure, you can win a championship, but you're going to be like the Rams right now in cap trouble, maxed out, losing key players to be competitive because you had to buy a Super Bowl. Which, I mean, if you're going to watch your team have to rebuild, I don't think anybody's going to cry after a Super Bowl victory. Yeah. So at least they got that for them. But, that's tough watching your team win a Super Bowl and then not even compete.
Yeah. I'm sure that does not feel good.
Exactly. And that's like New England. Like New England started it and Andy Reid just mastered it over there. Yeah. And I feel like New England still got it pretty good. I don't know what's going on over there. I think Belichick is lost. I think a lot of people said Belichick made Brady, but I think we're starting to realize that Brady made Belichick.
Yeah. You could definitely see it that way. That's rough, losing your superstar.
Yep.
And having to start over.
You know what the crazy thing is? Did you ever know Belichick coached for the Lions?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Until this day, he still gets a Christmas card from Martha Ford.
Huh.
every year. He used to be assistant coach back here in like the maybe early 90s, I believe.
Hmm.
And then he left here, became assistant coach, I think, with the Browns, and then or he left here and became a head coach with the Browns. It was one or the other. I know no, I think he left. I forget. He went somewhere else, maybe with the Jets to be assistant coach, and then he went to the Browns for head coach, and then he got fired from the Browns, and that's what blows my mind too. He got fired by the Browns, and then it was a couple years. I think he went from there to New England, and then like maybe 2 years into New England, he gets Tom Brady, wins a Super Bowl, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you imagine if he was still with the Browns and he got Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Like there would be a whole different history for the whole Cleveland Browns.
And the whole NFL too. It's kind of crazy to think about. I know those fans are feeling some sort of way, like going from like being a dynasty to now, oh my God, this is what a loss feels like. Like, ouch.
It's
I don't
hard.
feel for them because I hate them.
I understand, rival division. I mean, you gotta hate your rivals. I mean, that's like me with the Packers.
I do, I sympathize with that. I get it. I'm sure that's not a place anyone really wants to be in right now, but it's crazy how competitive the AFC East is right now. And I'm a little bit annoyed. Like, okay, now like the Dolphins are projected to be good, but so is everyone else.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
I'm telling you, I'm rooting for you guys because you got A-Rod over there. And I don't want to see no A-Rod crap because I'm really at this point sick of him. And a lot of people just come at me and you're like, oh, you're just sick of A-Rod, because he's a Packer. I'm like, not really. I just hate the cockiness.
Well, I hope it just plays out the way that it did with Favre, where, that just was the end of the career, ultimately going to the Jets.
You can't really say that because if you remember correctly, Favre went to the Jets when they were bad. The year after that, he retired. He retired that year, came out of retirement, went to Minnesota.
That's right.
And had two chances to actually go all the way with Minnesota. They actually had two good, solid teams with Brett Favre when he went to the Vikings.
He was done. He was done.
Oh, he was definitely done.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is done, though.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is done. I think he just need to change the scenery. But I still think
I know you're glad to see him go.
I'm glad to see him go just because I like as a football player, he's one of the best quarterbacks to play in the league. There's no doubt. But personally, I can't stand a player who's constantly talking shit about every team, everybody, 24/7, and you're acting like you're the best quarterback in the league. Okay, you're one of the best. But you're not the best. You won one Super Bowl. He's had about 3 or 4 times, I believe, in the conference championships after, and has lost every single one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you're not Tom Brady. Stop trying to act like Tom Brady. Like if Tom Brady, want to come on the interview in his playing days and say something ignorant, which I never recall Tom Brady really actually talking shit in an interview by any means.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, he conduct part of this is being a professional too, and like, being humble, especially when you are, when you are top tier.
And that's something Aaron Rodgers has never mastered by any means. I mean, like this year, he was like a little crybaby. Like the Lions beat him the first game. Okay, it was a very close game, and honestly, I would say it was so low scoring. We got lucky to win that game. If Green Bay didn't screw theirself that game, there's a good chance they'd win that game. Now the second game, the last game of the season, we to me, maybe the scoreboard might not have showed it, but we personally spanked them. And we hurt them the worst because after the first game, all he said in multiple interviews, every time they asked a question towards Detroit, it was that team, that team, that team. Like he was talking so low on us, and it was like, dude, like you should know you guys lost that game for yourself. Yeah. Why are you blaming that team? Yeah. Like why are you sending so much shade? And then the last night, Kirby Joseph, our rookie, he picks him off again for his last throw as a Packer. To me, that's priceless. You can't write a better send off than that. And then so like this year just kind of like really boiled over because it's like now you're going way too far. Like I could see if we were more of a rival, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously we were rivals, but let's be honest, the Lions haven't really competed for the North of the playoff spot in quite a few years now. After we signed the Matt Patricia experiment, which I think the whole league was probably glad to see, like, yeah, I'm glad our team passed on that. That killed us because, like, right before that, we were making the playoffs. We almost we should have won the division 2 years in a row, but you know, it always came down to the last game of the year and we blew it. But we were still pretty competitive. Like I thought that was our true peak. We got to enjoy the first few years. And then, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was a Patricia fan. I was like, okay, you know, this dude, he's won 3-4 Super Bowls in New England. He knows how to win. You know, we need somebody from that tree. And then I got here and then stuff happened. I'm like, yeah, this is not what we need. Like, this is bad. But I'm so glad it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because I want to see how it plays out in the Eagles right now.
Yeah.
Because Darius Slade left the Lions, went to the Eagles because of Matt Patricia. And now Matt Patricia is his new defensive coach. So I want to see if there's going to be any drama between those two. I'm just glad now we actually have a coach, which we got to actually thank you guys because you're the ones that gave Dan Campbell his start in a coaching career.
Yeah, I remember. And I remember loving, like, you could tell, like, he had a fire about him and, like, you know, like an ability to kind of command the room and everything. I don't think maybe we didn't really give him a fair chance. You know, he wasn't here long enough. But that's the story here. It's just a turnover of coaches.
I think, well, wasn't it the same year? Because I don't remember exactly. I know it happened, but didn't you guys have a player and wasn't it the same year that the head coach got fired and a couple players got suspended for
I think that was the whole the
gay player or something.
Jonathan Martin thing, with like the bullying. That was all like around the same time. I know I was in college, and back when I was in college, like the Dolphins were my escape from, you know, schoolwork. So I just, you know, I was living in Pennsylvania at the time, but I was still like so like into everything Dolphin news.
Okay. So now you're originally from Pennsylvania or New York?
Yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania. So I'm from Easton, Pennsylvania, which is like an hour and a half north of Philly. And then I went to pharmacy school in Philadelphia. So I lived there for 6 years. So this year I'm excited because we play the Eagles in Philly. So I'm going home. And it's going to be great.
Are you a little nervous to deal with those fans?
I'm not nervous to deal with them at all because I've seen them, you know, I've been amongst them many, many times, but I know a lot of like my fellow fans are nervous, and like that's why we decided. So we're kind of hosting a takeover. So we're calling it the Philly Finvasion, and I'm partnered with Miami Sports Music. We're doing a big tailgate, and like, you know, day before we're having a meet and greet and everything. And so the whole thing was like, if we're going to go to Philly, like we need to go to Philly in like big numbers. So we're all going to be banded together. We're all sitting in, you know, same section and everything. So we'll look out for each other.
Yeah. Cause like, I know a couple of Philly fans and I've talked to them. They told me it was kind of ruthless. And I always wanted to maybe go to a away game. Philadelphia was always one, but it's probably me. I don't know if I'll ever do that.
Maybe not Philadelphia for your first away game. Why don't you come to Miami sometime?
I will have to come to Miami. You know what sucks is I was actually supposed to come to the Keys at the end of July, but then unfortunately stuff happened and we had to cancel the trip.
Oh no.
We were down there in 2021 because we took my dad for his 50th to Anna Marie Island, and then we went from Anna Marie Island and then we bought the tickets to go to see Logan Paul versus Mayweather. So then we got like to Miami, and we had like, I think like 2.5 to 3 days to kill. And my sister's like, well, let's go to the Keys. We're right here. So we go to the Keys, and it started off a great trip until her Jeep broke down.
Oh.
Oh yeah, her Jeep broke down, and then it turned real horrible because
Oh, you need a
the deal.
redo.
That's what was supposed to happen this year, was a redo, because we just got bad experiences like in the Keys after that, because no one wanted to help us. They gave us trouble on renting a rental car. It was horrible. Like the dealership was like, yeah, we'll fix your car whenever we get to it. And I'm like, dude, we have to go back to Michigan in like maybe 3 days at that.
Oh no.
You know, and so we had to have it towed all the way from Key West all the way back to Miami.
That
It was
stinks.
horrible.
And that's not a quick trip either.
No, because it was like 3 hours
Yeah.
from Miami. And then the worst part of it all is no one would rent us a car, so we had to pay a $400 Uber fee to Key Largo. And then a guy up there gave us a car. We rented a car from the enterprise up there, and it was just like a horrible. It was like a great trip, but a horrible ending.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy Miami. I wish I actually got more time in Miami, because the couple times we got was like the night before we went to the Keys.
Okay.
And then we were supposed to come right back in the same day to Miami. And then we were going to check out Miami, go check out the bar scene, you know, and the city. And we really didn't get that much time. It was pretty much we got to finally, because the same day we finally got the rental car, my sister's boyfriend's sister was sitting at the airport waiting on us. So she was at the airport, not even knowing if we could make it to her. So by the time we made it there, we basically went to the fight, drove back to Key West when the dealer opened, came right back to Miami. And I think after that, the next day I was like, all right, well, we got to fly home. We got no other choice.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
It just kind of really.
You definitely need a redo.
Definitely
There's so
need
much
a redo
to do
on the
down
Keys.
there. So like I live in Naples, so we're on like the West Coast, but I am never bored when I go over to like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and we go often, you know, obviously. And I like, South Beach is great, and the Everglades, and there's just like so many things to do there. Like you could definitely do the bar scene and everything.
Yeah.
Or, you could do the nature stuff, or like, the
we
beach
actually,
stuff.
I forget what the place is called, but I'm pretty sure you've heard of him. Gator Chris. He owns he got like a Gator Park right in the Everglades down there. We actually got to go there, and we did the airboat. And
the airboats are awesome.
We picked a great day, because I want to say we've seen like good 5 to 6 real wild gators out in the water.
Yeah.
So they were really out there, and then we, got to see his show and, hold the alligator, which that was pretty cool. Because the last time I took my daughter to Tampa, because I got a lot of family that stays in Florida, but they all stay in like Tampa area. None of them are really more south. They're like literally all Tampa, which is kind of weird to me, because it's funny because they all started out in Tennessee.
Okay.
And then then a good chunk of them all moved to Florida, but it was like all the same area. It was like, okay, so I always joked around. I'm like, so the family must have just had a big table, sit down, like, hey, half of us are moving here, half of us are staying. And then, and that's kind of crazy. That's actually where my grandparents met, was Florida. Because my grandpa worked with his dad. He said, doing like working at the I want to say farms, like the orange farms, or making highway. I think he worked like in the ditches too, helping make the roads back in the day. Because he used to always tell me how he used to have to walk in the ditches, and they used to be filled with water and gators and all that stuff. And I'm like, you're kind of crazy. I don't think I would be walking. I don't care how much they want to pay me. I'm not getting no water with no gators.
It's crazy because like the gators become like the equivalent of like squirrels to Floridians, and you'll see people in the water, swimming, whatever. I mean, honestly, like we had this beach bash this past weekend, and I mean, there could have easily been a gator in there. Like it was a public swimming area, like they had
Oh, for
people
sure.
watching, and if there was a gator, they would take it out or whatever. But I mean, any body of water in Florida, is not safe from gators. In fact, I see them every day on my way to work.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, my cousin, because when I took my daughter, we stayed in Tampa for like 3-4 days with her at her place, and then we went to Coca-Cola Beach and stuff like that with and then before we went to Orlando, and like she had a pond, like, and I was like, "That's cool, you got a pond, look at it." She's like, "Yeah, just don't walk close to it." I'm like, not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "There's gators in there." I'm like, "In the condo complex? Like they don't do special things to keep them out of there?" And she's like, "Oh no." She's like, "You'll see them laying right on the grass." And then my cousin, her son's like, "Oh yeah, I walk home all the time and I walk right past gators daily." And
yeah,
I'm
it just
like,
depends. Like if they become a nuisance, or if there's people, in the neighborhood that complain or whatever, they'll take them out. But if they're just doing their own thing and not bothering anybody, they'll stay.
yeah. And that was like the cool thing. See, I love learning about that stuff. Like I love, like I'm a big outdoorsman. I love fishing. I love hunting, and I love learning about different species. And like I knew Florida had gators, but I didn't realize how many people actually deal with them
Yeah.
24/7. Like they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's not even like they're rare out
Yeah.
here. It's
Like I thought
yeah.
you had to go to like certain spots. You
No.
know what I mean? Like go see where I live about literally, to be honest, on a good day, no traffic, I can be to Ford Field in like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
I can be to Tiger Stadium in 10 minutes. Wrangling
Nice.
Stadium, same. So like we have like your regular animals, like birds, squirrels. We'll get some raccoons, possums, but now like it's weird because further north they start building more subdivisions around here, and now like we're starting to get actual deer,
Uh-huh.
like walking through our city streets, and it's just like
Yeah.
all my
They don't
life
have
here
anywhere to
I've never
go.
seen a deer. I was actually, even though they banned baiting in Michigan, I was actually still feeding a deer that was hanging out around my house. And it got to the point where I could walk on my porch and throw her an apple, and she wouldn't even run.
Yeah.
She would just eat the apple and be like, "All right, you got another one?" So I was actually feeding an apple probably for a good 2-3 months. And everybody was like amazed. They're like, "Dude, you have a pet deer." I'm like, "Comes here every day, 3 times a day." It'd be like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be at work already looking at my camera, and she'd be eating the apples I left out for her the other day.
Oh, you made a
All day, like
friend.
8 o'clock. And so that's what I was hoping. I was hoping that like she'd stay around here, just not to actually have a pet. It's so easy for a deer around here to get hit because no one's expecting a deer around here to run out.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of crazy actually learning how down there that they have gators everywhere. Because like here it's still like, whoa, like my dad just like 2 weeks took a picture of a wild turkey
Yeah.
right down the street walking through our
We have
someone's lawn,
turkeys
and I'm
here
like,
too. Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, we have bears too. We have Florida panthers as well.
yeah,
Snakes. We have all kinds of snakes.
oh, I know
Some
you got
really, really
snakes.
big ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee got those too. I lived down there for about 3.5 years. That's the only thing Tennessee really scared me was snakes.
Snakes.
And only why I got scared is about them is just because like I feel like all the creatures, like if you see a panther, you're gonna physically see him. In here, a bear, same thing. Many of big animals that could kill you, you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Snakes are that one animal where you think it's just leaves.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're getting bit.
Yeah.
Actually, it was crazy because we used to have berries. My grandparents, when they lived there on their house, on their property, they used to have berries. And they would pick them and then make a blueberry cobbler and all that stuff. My grandma would cook them up. So my grandpa one time took my little sister. I think my sister was like maybe 8, 10, if that. and he took her down there to pick up berries, and she looked down to see a copperhead, and it was like getting ready to bite my grandfather, and she just happened to tap him, and she was like, I want to go home. And he's like, why? We don't got enough berries. She's like, because of this. Look down, and he looked and seen it, and he was able to kill it before it bit him and protect him. But it was just like, that's how crazy. And they were just picking berries. So that's why I've always hated snakes, because you're in that situation, you don't even notice the snake's there.
Yeah, we've got snakes. We've got like very large lizards, iguanas, all kinds of things. But that's why I love it here. So, I never once like thought for a minute, like I want to move back to Pennsylvania, because there's just so much like nature here, and it's so beautiful and manicured, and everything is just, it's hot. Who cares? It's not a big deal. Like you have air conditioning in the house, you have it in the car, you have it at work. But still, like it's there's a lot more to do here, like outdoors wise. You could go on a boat, you could see manatees and like things like that, or just, it keeps the weekends interesting. And, because we don't have seasons, like you can do that anytime.
Exactly.
I love it.
And to me, I feel like you guys, as a football team, you guys get a lot of home field advantage with that heat.
Oh yeah. And our stadium is designed to be that way. Unfortunately, my seats are in the sun. So I'm suffering with the away team.
Okay.
Because our section's called the deep end. And so we kind of bridge the gap in the corner end zone between the away and like the home fans. So it is hot, like especially last year, the first couple games of the season and definitely preseason, it is hot. And like it's like when you first open up an oven after you've preheated it and it's 450 degrees and that comes out at you, like that's how it is the whole game for 4 hours. And not even that, but like the tailgate, we tailgate at like 8:30 in the morning all the way through, to the game and everything. So, you need to be very hydrated.
Yeah. See, when I went, the fight was at night. So
at night, it's not so bad. It
get
down to like
when
75.
I was there, it wasn't too bad. But during the day, I was like, I bet you this thing gets hot.
Oh, yeah. And even in the night games, we've had night games where it was so hot, your sweat's just like pouring out in all the pictures. Like everyone's like got just sweat everywhere, makeup running, and it's a whole mess. There's a lot of strategy involved with like, planning your game day outfit, wear something very like light, it's, put your sunscreen on.
I've always wondered, because I know when you always put different colored wigs on and you wear your costume, and I'm like, she has to be hot.
Yeah, it's evolved over the years so that it's actually not so hot now, not like
your body eventually gets used to it.
You get used to it. So like, the first couple of games are rough, but then you do get used to it. But in some cases, like I'll wear full pants because that's protecting my legs, from the sun, and it's like absorbing the sweat and everything. So like in that case, it's better. And then, I usually just wear like a sports bra top. And so like the rest of it's just breathing, and a lot of people are like, oh, the wigs must be, really hot or whatever, but they're actually not that bad because they kind of like hang away from your face, as opposed to like your regular hair would be like all stuck to you and everything. So in a way, this is actually better. And I will like, use a different wig depending on what the temperature is or whatever. So it's really not that bad, but you just know, like, you're going to roast. There's no point in complaining about it. We're all here for the Dolphins and we don't care. Like we want to have a good time and we want the team to win. So it's all worth it.
Exactly. Like I feel like your body adjusts, because I know when you used to live in Pennsylvania, your body was used to the winter, the cold, all the seasons. And then at first, I'm pretty sure probably the first couple of years in Florida was probably the toughest part of it.
Yeah.
After
people
that
think I'm crazy because like I have the air on right now, but my air is set at 77 and people are like, oh my God, like that's so hot. And I'm like, I'm fine. Like to me, that's comfortable now. It's so weird.
See, the thing is, like up in Michigan, that's the response you would get.
Mm-hmm.
Is what, your air is at 77? Like
mine's at 68. Yeah.
Like, are you crazy? But people are not realizing that Florida is like 80.
Yeah.
90. every day, especially in the summer, it's even hotter and humid.
Today it was 98 outside.
Yeah,
In fact,
I
I
see
am
this-
sweating a bit because I'm in front of the light and like this, for some reason, this dolphin room is always hot. But it
Yeah.
was 98 today and it doesn't usually get like that. But this past week it's been like brutal hot.
Exactly. Well, you can, whenever you get tired of it, you can just try to set it up this way. I think the whole state would appreciate it. Even to me, like 88, 80 degrees, that's kudos. That's good for me.
Yeah.
But even I only lived 3.5 years in Tennessee, and I swear, since I moved back, winter's never been the same for me.
Yeah.
Like I find myself cold. Like I was the kid walking in high school in a t-shirt and shorts and tennis shoes with 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Like cold did not faze me by any means when I was younger. But now since like I moved to Tennessee and then came back, and it's like ever since I'm like, nope, always a winter coat. Like I hate the cold now. And now after I lost a lot of weight, it's like even worse now.
Oh yeah,
Now
you
it's
don't have as
like-
much insulation.
Exactly. And it's crazy because I still got a lot of way to go. But it's like I still have insulation on me. Why am I this cold?
Yeah, I think it might be something about getting older too.
I think
I
that
don't
has a
know.
lot to do with it. Because I
It
used
just
to
happens.
be the person, didn't matter degrees outside. My house it did not go above 68 degrees in the summer. And I never shut my ear off at night, day, ever. I let it run around the clock. I did not care. Now I'm like, yeah, no, I can deal with this because I don't want to pay a high bill anymore. So we're gonna shut you off.
It does get cold here. That's one thing that like people don't always know. But when the Packers came to town last season for the Christmas game, it was 40.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
40 in Miami, and we were bundled up. Like I wore a Christmas tree skirt on my shoulders like a cape.
I don't blame you guys because it was probably like a whole shock to everybody.
Everyone was, and even like the Packers fans who had like come from Green Bay, they were like, we left that for more of that. Like, what? We came to Miami, we wanted to like, wear our summer clothes and everything. And it was raining and it was cold and it was just like, that was actually like for the first time, that was a game that I would have been okay just totally skipping.
Yeah.
One, because of the outcome, but two, because of the weather. Like that's just not what we're used to at all.
Exactly. I thought it was funny too, because like this is the funny part is like when I still remember this the exact day we moved to Tennessee. When we left here, because my high school actually had a record for like the 4 years straight. It was like 3 years straight. We had no snow days. And I mean, we had some storms that dumped on us, and they still forced us to go to school. Like they were like just our school district did not like snow days by any means. So we didn't get no snow days. So the last week I got to go to high school before I got to say goodbye to my friends and went 600 miles away. We had like 4 snow days.
Yeah.
Straight. So I got one day to basically try to say goodbye to everybody. And I'm like, all the times I wanted snow days, we get 4 straight, only because it was like -2.
Wow.
So it was so cold by law, they could not make kids go to school.
Yeah. They can't wait out at the bus stop.
And that was the crazy thing is it took to that to happen for us not to go to school.
Really?
And so we leave that, we get to Tennessee, it's like 45 degrees. So we met my grandparents at church. We get to church the next morning and it's like 45. I'm in shorts at this point in a t-shirt. I'm like heat because you leave 10 degrees, 45 degrees feels like 65.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody else comes walking into church and they're wearing hats, gloves, mittens, boots, all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's 45 degrees. Like, it's not that cold. Like maybe a hoodie or, nice size jacket. Okay, I get that. But you got gloves on? Like you guys would die.
It's weird how you acclimate. Yeah, and it doesn't take long.
And then next thing you know, it was like it hit 45 degrees a couple years at the living Tennessee. I'm like, man, I'm cold. And it's like, wait a minute, it's crazy. So my next question is, so originally from Pennsylvania. How did you become a Miami fan?
Yeah, so that's the question I get asked all the time. It's actually all my dad's fault. So my dad was a diehard Dolphins fan growing up as a little kid. The Dolphins were good, and his grandparents were from Miami, and they lived like a block away from the stadium and everything. And so, he was diehard Dolphins. And then while we were growing up, he had the DirecTV Sunday ticket. And so we could always watch the Dolphins, and he was very serious about football Sundays. Like, you could not interrupt, and, don't bother me. No, I don't want to play. No, I don't want this, that, or anything. And I didn't really understand that until he was like, just like, stop and just come and watch the game with me. And, he didn't even say, hey, I'm going to teach you anything. Like, I don't even think he wanted to teach me. But the thing was, like, I got so sucked into it, and I started asking him questions, and I wanted to learn everything about it. And then, once I became interested in enough, he was like, okay, let's go to Miami for a game. And I just could not wait. Like that. I was more excited about that than any other trip we've ever had. And unfortunately, the first game that we were going to go to Miami got canceled because they postponed it for a hurricane. And so I was devastated. And so we had to wait till the next year to be able to go. And then, once I finally got there, I was just like, these are my people. Like, and I love this atmosphere here. I loved everything. They had so much stuff going on at the stadium. And then to be able to see the team, like, after watching them, like, for long distance, like, for so long, and to have them, like, in front of your face is like, that's like next level, and then, the game we went to, we won. And I'm like, I must be the good luck charm. And, then you start to get all into yourself, and you're like, like, I'm a fan for life now, right? Like, I'm vetted in this. And so after doing that for a few years and going, once a year, then I started to get more interested in coming to Miami. And so I was coming down for off-season events and training camp and that sort of thing. And then ultimately the thing was, I needed to move down here and be, able to have season tickets and go. And so I dragged my poor husband down. He's like not a football fan at all, not a sports fan at all. And I had to really convince him, like, because he loves Pennsylvania and he loves, the mountains and camping and everything. And I'm convincing him, I'm like, we can do all that stuff in Florida too. We can camp, we can go off-roading, like, all the things that he likes to do. I'm like, we can do that too. Don't worry about it. And so, like, we came down, and then every year I just got like more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And like, here I am sitting here, as the fan of the year. It's crazy, like, how that came about. So yeah.
So that made you, so being a fan of Miami, of the Dolphins, and being so dedicated, that was your trigger to like, hey, we gotta go to Miami.
Yeah. I was like, I just want to be, it was when I saw like the other super fans, and I saw the tailgate, and I saw how much fun people had, and how, like, how, like, football fans are like family. And like, we take that very seriously. And with the Dolphins, like, we're family with a PH. And, like, it is, because like all of my friends are Dolphins fans, and, like, people that I hang out with on the weekend are Dolphins fans. And like, it's just like, you meet so many people through the tailgating and the fan clubs, and everybody's like so tight knit on social media that it becomes, very much a family. And so, I got like accepted into that family very quickly. And they were like, wow, like, you're from Pennsylvania and you're like this, like, you belong with us. And, I just got accepted into the tailgate really quick and into the deep end. And, I just wanted to be doing all the things that the super fans were doing. And they were, doing toy drives at Christmas, and, doing charity events and hosting tailgates, and, feeding people at the tailgate, and like doing all these things. And I'm like, I could do this too. And then, I just start doing it. So it's been a long time, but it's just, every year it's been better and better.
My buddy, one of our good fans of our show, Ron, he's a big Lions fan, and he's funny. Yeah, he actually stays in New Mexico, so he was actually in the comments bragging how he gets the real nice weather as well. And but New Mexico actually gets really cold, and I did not know that. I used to drive a truck for about 10 years. So I actually had to load in New Mexico one time, and I got there and I'm like, dude, it's 25 degrees out. It's the desert.
You
Why
think
is
with
it
it
so
being
cold?
south, it wouldn't be, so cold, but same thing like Texas too. And, it's just.
he actually put, try doing a Lions Packers game in Lambeau when it's 15 degrees with the wind chill.
Oof.
Makes it -15. And I give a lot of people credit, even Packer fans, like you see them in playoffs, late in the season, they got their shirts off. And it's and you can see how cold it is. I'm like, you guys are nuts. Like, I'm from Detroit, I'm from the same cold. And sometimes, like, I get mad at the Lions for having a dome stadium because I'm like, I feel like we just give up all of our home advantage.
Yeah.
But, I kind of see it why, because, like, downtown Detroit in the winter, it gets really cold because you got the river. So when that wind comes off the water and gets between those buildings, it's just horrible.
Yeah, they just know people aren't going to come unless it's inside.
But to me, it's like I see pictures back when they used to play in the Tiger Stadium back in the day, like in the, I want to say 60s. They used to play with the Tigers in Tiger Stadium outdoors, and their whole crowd was sold out. I'm like, I think the Lions would still sell out, for sure in the open stadium. But I feel like today's market, you're going to see a lot more teams. I think for outside, less you live like Florida or Cali or something really warm all the time.
Yeah.
I think you're going to start seeing colder teams going more dome.
Yeah.
Just because no one wants to go to your stadium if it's open. Like, Lambeau don't have too many concerts at Lambeau Field. I'm sure they do in the summertime when it's warm enough. But then, you lose so much key moments or opportunities to make extra money as a team owner if you don't have it. I know that's one of the reasons why the Bears want to move is because they can't make no extra money off their stadium. They don't own their stadium. It's one of the smallest stadiums still in the league. I would say probably one of the most historic stadiums, but that only goes so much for so long.
Yeah.
And that's what they want, is they want to have a dome stadium so, they can get bigger things. So I see that a lot, but I don't like turf fields. Yeah. I hate the turf fields. I want to see the NFL go all the grass.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's like a whole thing, about like the way that it increases injury incidents and that sort of thing. So I definitely think if anything, like it needs to be consistent across the NFL. Either we're all going to go turf or we're all going to go grass. We got to pick.
Well, to me, it's like these new stadiums, like Raiders, the Cardinals Stadium. Their dome stadium's not so bad because they can roll their whole field outside and then they water it, they maintain it through the week, and then they just roll it right back in for game day on Sunday.
Yeah.
To me, it's like every league, if you want a dome stadium, they should make it mandatory that every stadium has that option, or you got to figure out another option. Like Ford Field right now, we couldn't even have real grass.
Yeah.
There's no way to keep it alive.
Yeah.
That's completely closed, and you can't just go cut a hole in the stadium. And, you probably could after you pay
find a way.
Millions. To me, it's like, why don't you just cut a hole in the middle of the roof, make it retractable like a sunroof, and you're good to go. We do get some days like Michigan's really changed in weather-wise. Because before, by the end of when I was a kid, by October it was cold. Like sometimes on Halloween, you didn't even want to go trick-or-treating on Halloween.
Yeah.
Because I remember Halloween being where you had to have hand warmers. And I'm sure you remember those as being a kid, freezing. Now there's sometimes you go out here for Halloween and it's 70 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, what's going on here? Sometimes last few years, like this year, I think we had maybe 3 big snowstorms. Other than that, nothing. It was dry. And it kind of kills because like Michigan, we got a lot of ice fishermen up here. That's what I loved about Michigan growing up. There was always something to do, regardless if there's snow on the ground or warm. But now we're starting to lose a lot of our winter things that used to be able to do all the time for months.
Oh, wow.
It's really changed So it's kind of crazy to see how like everything changes after so long. Now I was gonna. So are you a college fan at all?
No, I mean, I'm a Hurricanes fan, but I've never been to a game, mostly because I can't handle 2 game days in a row.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that'd be tough. Unless it was maybe a away week and you weren't going away for that game in particular.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. And like growing up, I went to a Pitt game. I've been to Penn State. I've been to Lehigh. Like there was a couple different, games that I went to, but like I never really felt attached to like a college team because my college didn't have a football team. And so it wasn't until I came down here and like all of my Dolphin friends are Hurricane fans. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to jump on this one.
I don't blame you. Both hometown teams,
Yeah. Same stadium, it just makes sense.
Exactly. Same here. Like for me, I've always been a University of Michigan fan. Haven't went to a game because I know they're more expensive than the Lions game.
Huh.
Because they also had the biggest stadium in college.
Oh,
Of
okay.
anybody. Like the big house sits over like 100,000 and some change.
Huh.
So they're pretty much sold out, and especially with them being good the last few years, to buy a ticket is just outrageous.
Yeah.
I actually had a buddy, his brother was trying to get him to go, and I think he said like the ticket was like $250 for
Wow.
one ticket, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll watch it at home.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to drive an hour on the home after the game.
Yeah.
I
I don't follow college. Like I really just don't have time, to be honest. Like I wish I could, because come draft time, like that's like I really try to stay away from like podcasts like around the draft because I don't know any of these guys. Like I haven't been watching them all year. And a lot of people are like, oh, I do this person should go to this team. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know who that is. I'm just, I'm very NFL oriented, and that's all I can really take on. And then hockey, hockey would be my second thing. So
yeah, same here. Like that's one thing I realized, especially driving a truck. A lot of things change. Like I used to never miss a Red Wing game. Ever. I'm finding myself trying to force myself to get back in the routine to watch games.
Yeah.
Because I went so long with not being able to watch games.
Yep.
And that's why I kind of stuck with. That's when I really became hardcore NFL, because that was the one day I was like, okay, NFL plays one day.
Yeah.
So one day when you're at work, you're stuck at the trucks, you're stuck on the road. Even if you had to shut down, even if you could have drove another 100, 200 miles, if you can watch the game, go watch the game. And a lot of times I got stuck in situations where I had to listen to the Lions game on the radio.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get it on nothing, or everything was blacked out in every app. But I found myself watching any game in the driver's lounge. Any game I possibly watch, regardless if it was a Thursday night, a Monday night, Sunday night, or even Sunday. And the Lions, and there's been many times I watched everybody but the Lions.
Yep.
And so I get it, because as you get older, you really realize, like, I can't afford to make sure I'm doing nothing Saturday and then make sure I'm doing nothing on Sunday so I don't miss the game. Like it just don't work anymore. So
life gets in the way. It does.
Yes. That's why for me, I love Snapchat, because I follow the Snap Sports Center. So a lot of times they always put the top 10 plays, things that happen in games. So It's like really quick. I find a couple minutes, I'm like, okay, and then
tell you everything you need to know.
Exactly. And then what I try to do is I try to key on, like, when they're talking college football, I try to key on big name players making big plays.
Yeah.
And then that's how I usually try to pay attention, because I don't watch college as much. I think this year is probably the most year I've watched Michigan football, and probably a solid 6 years. And I enjoyed it, but there's a lot of games I also missed this year. But I made sure I made all the big ones. I made sure I got to watch the playoff game, of course. Although I'll never miss the Ohio State Michigan game.
Yeah.
You just got to watch. Rivalry is the best. Also, speaking of that, like Tennessee and Alabama, that was a great game.
Yeah.
I did watch that, and the crazy thing is,
yep, I watched that one too.
I only watched it because the internet. I had no clue what was going on really in that game by any means. Until the internet, and it was like the worst part is I went out to my mom's with my daughter, and she wanted to do dinner or something. So I'm like, oh man, this game's really interesting. My mom has no cable, like no nothing. It's all streaming services. And I'm like, and she's like talking to my daughter about getting her nails done. She's like, we're gonna go to the nail salon. I'm like, okay, have fun. I'm like, so now you're leaving me in the house. Facebook won't shut up about how good this Alabama-Tennessee game is right now. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I ended up signing for some streaming service. That worked. I signed up for it just to watch that stupid game.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is it was a free trial. So as soon as the game was over, I went and canceled everything.
Yeah.
But it was worth it because that
game was worth it. Yeah.
Crazy. And that's where I'm at, like with the Lions with Jared Goff. Like, I think Jared Goff is our franchise QB. But I am really excited that we got Hooker. Even though to me it's a sketchy pick because he is 25. I don't like his age, but I feel like something worst case scenario happens with Goff, we have another kid that can sling the ball. And I was just watching like top 10. They had on Snapchat today, it was like a little story below. It was like the top 10 passes of Devin Hooker today. I was actually watching it. And like, I swear about 5 of those passes were off from the Alabama game. Because that game, I think that game was the craziest, probably the best game of all college football last year. Yeah. And I loved the fans. I actually had my English teacher and his kids were actually at the game. In attendance that night. I had a few other friends in the stadium for that, and they literally stole the goalpost.
Yeah.
And they threw it in the Tennessee River. That was like the best part. And like I don't know if you caught the video circling the internet, but there's like a video where them coming out on the street, and there was like one cop, one security guard. Nobody even tried to stop.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy because I feel like you would go to jail if you tried that shit here in Michigan.
Yep.
Like, I feel like there would be no questions asked. You're going to jail. You're stealing the goalposts. And Tennessee came out. They were already making new goalposts for the stadium before the game because they knew that was going to happen.
That's so funny because now it's like a joke in my friends group too. Like, if we win this game, we're taking down the goalpost.
From my understanding on it, UT's actually made that a tradition.
Okay. So that's not something that was.
So it's not the first time. It's not the first time it's done. But for some reason, whoever came up with it. That's
hilarious.
It is hilarious. But my thing is, this is how I would look at it. And this is how I look at it. Is as a fan, I think you might probably agree with this. Like, if you stole the Miami Dolphins goalpost, would you throw it in the ocean, or would you be like, no, let's take this somewhere and let's all cut pieces up so we can all take it home?
We would take it straight to the tailgate, probably, and erect it like in that area.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, I would be like, all right, who got the chop saw? I want a piece of this on my shelf at my house for the rest of my life. Yeah, I want to be able to tell my grandkids, like, hey, your grandpa stole this goalpost, and this is my piece of it.
Knowing how the stadium's laid out, there is no way that was gonna fit through the tunnels and like out to the parking lot anyways. So like that's just not happening.
That's like the crazy. That's like the crazy thing is like they got it out of the stadium.
I know.
Like, I thought they would have to like break it to fit it out because I always thought they used cranes and stuff to lower them in. So
I mean, you would think such a thing is heavy.
Yeah. I actually had a few friends that were actually down there on the field as well.
Really?
I don't know if they were none of them admitted to actually helping carrying it. So I don't know if they actually went to that stand, but there was a few of them that posted pictures of them actually standing on the 50-yard line, smoking cigars. But I'm like, that got to be cool.
Yeah.
To be able to do.
College games are a whole other thing from what I hear. Like they tell me the Hurricanes games are just like everything's better than the Dolphin games. That the tailgates are better and like crazier and the games and everything. And so I want to do that this year. I want to go. Stuff
at college, like to me, like don't get me wrong, stuff at pro sports, it gets crazy. But I feel like it's a lot more mature crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I'm like, other than the couple fights that break out during, games and stuff, other than that, like college, like they're like Michigan State is our rival college here in Michigan, and they're in Lansing. Like their school is known. Like if they beat Michigan or lose to Michigan, or they're really good at basketball and won way more national titles in basketball than football. And they've done it a lot for basketball. If they lose a big game, like they burn the freaking city down. Like it's on the news. Like there's couches in the middle of the roads on fire.
Oh.
There's cars tipped over, like just destroyed.
I'm not all for that. Like
I'm not all for that.
Why destroy your city?
Exactly. Like
I've never understood that about Philadelphia and like why they do that. And
it's just like that's why I love the tradition here in Detroit. I'm not sure if we win a Super Bowl, it's going to play out the exact same way as most sports here, because Super Bowls takes place in February. It's usually cold and snowy, and for some reason, it always likes to snow like 10 inches on Super Bowl Sunday during the game. I swear, you think you're going to watch a game with family, drink a couple beers, and have like a good night. You look outside, you're like, oh yeah, cool. Gotta go fight a blizzard to drive home now. So I've been waiting for the day, the Lions actually get one. Because I want to see how the celebration actually plays out. Because the thing, like for the Red Wings, is hockey. Obviously, they're the championship rounds when it's warm out, starting to get warm out, and usually in the summertime. And a lot of times, like when we've won the cups here, to my whole life, like we would go to Gratiot Avenue. And Gratiot's a road that runs from like Port Huron, like way up north Michigan, and it runs all the way to Detroit. Ford Field is literally still off of Gratiot Avenue in Detroit. So it's like a whole road attached. And everybody would go to Gratiot and just party out the street. Cruise, there'd be people drinking on the road, everybody giving high fives. And the cops usually let it go until somebody ruins it for somebody. Yeah. But most of the time, I've been out there like 4, 6 in the morning, just partying. Like 2008, my grandpa, we actually built the replica Stanley Cup, and we did this since 2002. We've made it to like the paper and all that. We used to have a sign say "Honk for Stanley," so it'd be like 4 in the morning. You'd be sleeping, you could still hear people honking, going to work in the morning. They did not care what time it was. Like the cops kind of came one time and was like, "Hey man, at nighttime, can you tip that sign down? We're just getting a little mad here, because you got people honking at 4 in the morning." Yeah. And so in 2008, when we won it, we took my grandma's pickup truck and we put it in the back of the pickup truck, and we put a red gold light and plugged it in. And we were down there on Gratiot. We had people jumping in our truck, taking pictures with it.
Oh my God.
Just to get a picture of it. It was fun. It was a great time. And so I've always loved the champion celebration. So I hope everybody goes to Gratiot, because I know I'm going to Gratiot. If the Lions win the Super Bowl, I don't care if there's 2 feet of snow. I'm going.
I know we're gonna have a boat parade. There has to be something like true to Miami, and it involves boats.
Well, I think you're gonna be okay with that because I think Tom Brady set the stone for Florida teams. If you win a championship, you gotta take it to the boat.
Like I expect all of that, especially I expect the tossing of the Lombardi back and forth from the boat to the boat. I expect all of it.
You want to get nervous?
I would get nervous. Yes, I'll be the first one to catch it when it falls.
My favorite part was listen to all the crybabies about Brady throwing the Lombardi.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when that happened. I read that. I went through. I think I read all the comments on the whole thread.
Yep.
Just because I couldn't believe how much people were crying about it. I'm like,
but that was the day I was like, yo, Tom Brady is actually kind of dope. Like I would party with him. He looks like a good time.
Did you ever see the picture of after the parade of I forget who the other two players were, but they were actually holding Tom Brady up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that was like the Price's Pick because you've never seen Tom Brady in that element.
No.
They would always show, like in New England, they would always be focused on Gronkowski and what he was doing. And so that's what I kind of liked when he went to Tampa Bay. I felt like they gave him more of the spotlight.
Yeah.
In that matter of the partying of the trophy.
Well, it was shocking. I mean, it was shocking that he came in there and got them to the Super Bowl like that. You know, all of us were kind of like, wow, that's convenient.
see, it's crazy because because I don't know if you ever seen like I used to make I still do. I used to make because see how I got into all this football stuff. As I used to be in this like actual NFC North trash talk division group. It had like 40,000 people. So when I got in there, and then I actually didn't really care for it because they had so many Packer fans. Like you say one word about Detroit, you would have like 100 comments in 2 minutes.
No, I don't do groups like that.
And it was just complete trash talk. So at first in the beginning, I was just like, whatever. And I like the trash talk, so that's why I stayed. So I would really choose on where I talk my trash and stuff. Well, then I ended up making my group NFC the NFL Renegades, which I made a 32 group team. And we started out as a trash talk, but over the years we've actually developed more where we still give each other shit, but now it's like you said, it's became like a family. Like I'm still friends with most of the people in the group as personal. And now it's like, we still talk a little shit, but now it's just all fun. But we have real football conversation too. So that's why I love where my group's at.
Yeah.
Well, we had a buddy that was still like a moderator in that group. And we first started my group, he came in the back and he was like, hey, they're doing Lions Day where they're going to team up on all the Lions fans. And he's like, like there's only 2 of us that are really active. Like, you guys mind come over there and be active for a couple of days? So me and my one buddy Charles that, started our group, we're like, all right, we go over there. So me and him went live for like an hour talking trash on everybody. And then we just kept it going and going and going. So next thing you know, they made me a moderator. And they're like, you won't last until the football season. And I'm like, why won't I last? They're like, you're Lions fans. You guys don't talk nothing. You guys can't. I'm like, dude, I will own this whole group. Like, you don't even understand. And so it was funny because Brady was still playing with New England. And at the same time, they're like, we picked who's going to win the Super Bowl because we started our group like right in the playoffs. And I'm like, Tom Brady. Called it out the last year he won in New England. So my buddy Nate gave me the nickname the GOAT. Because because he's like, all right, you're just a fan of Tom Brady, so he changed my nickname. So in this group, so then I ended up going in that group and I went in the first week. I think I had 75 lives and over 100 and something posts, and it got to the point where all the big shit talkers that had a following in this group were like coming at me, and they couldn't shut me up. And I just kept going and going and going. So then I called myself the GOAT, and that's when all shit broke loose. Like, if I could put like one word post in the group, I would have probably in a day, probably the 25 to 30 posts with me tagged in it and people coming at me with hundreds of comments. It turned into like the most craziest thing. And it was just because I ran with that nickname. And then the best part is actually when he went to Tampa the following year, everybody made a big deal. When he finally went to Tampa. And this was actually in my group at this time. I ended up leaving that group. It was just funny because that's how I got the nickname. And so at the owner of that group kind of did some shady stuff. So I was like, I'm out. So now I'm in my group, and it was like a year after. Because it was the first year in Tampa before preseason. It was like August. I think it was like August. And someone in our group asked, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? I said, Tampa Bay. And everybody was like, you're on crack.
Yeah.
There's no way Brady goes to Tampa Bay and wins the Super Bowl first year. I said, think about this. As Tom Brady just left the Patriots, where he's had, 6 Super Bowls at that time?
Yep.
I'm like, this is his first time with a chip on his shoulder. The first time he has to prove to everybody he is who he is.
Yeah.
I said, if you really think Tom Brady is not going to win the Super Bowl this year or even be in it, I'm like, you're just not realizing. And then boom, it happened.
It's wild.
And I was like, everybody's like, this is twice now.
Yeah.
You've called it out that Tom Brady's going to win a Super Bowl.
Okay, so I need you to manifest it then that the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
I think it can happen. Honestly, I'm not lying. I think out of all the teams in the AFC East, if Tua stays healthy or you get very consistent play out of Mike White, I think your team to beat. Buffalo's still going to be good.
Yeah.
But Buffalo, if you haven't noticed, I don't know if you've noticed and heard the reports.
I saw.
There sounds like some drama going on.
Yep, there's drama.
So I think that's going to play a big toll.
Let's go. I'm Buffalo. Here for it.
I think Buffalo's another team where their window is closing.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the Jets. I think the Jets can make the playoffs, but I don't think they're better than a wild card.
Yeah. Agree.
And who's the other team in there? You guys. Patriots. I'm not sold on them. They got to show me a lot more. Mac Jones has to put it this way. At this point, Mac Jones has to look like Tom Brady out there for me to put them as a true team to even compete. So I think it honestly could become, if the drama gets to a point where I think it could go, I think it could be you guys versus A-Rod for first place.
I hope.
In the division. And
I hope.
Just don't let me down. Don't let A-Rod get that division.
Listen, I'm going to be doing my job. Best believe I'm doing my job.
Oh, I know you're going to. That's the only thing I don't want. I know I predicted it with Tom Brady, but I'm not putting the juju for A-Rod. No. I would not want to see him do it. even though as an organization, the Jets wise, I think they're due as a franchise, just like I think Miami's due, just like I think Detroit's due. I think a lot of the teams that are upcoming are due.
Yeah.
And, especially if you really look at teams starting to really be upcoming teams to compete for a championship, they're teams that have a history of being bad for a long time. I mean, you got Miami, Detroit, you got the Jaguars
Yep.
now coming up. Like them, if you told me those three teams right there were going to be competing for divisions all at the same time, I'm still don't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked as my own team. Like it's been a weird off season for me because I've never been like this content in my team.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm confident, but I'm being humble because I'm not trying to make it worse on me if it don't pan out.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that too.
But like I told Ron, David on many episodes, a lot of Lions fans have came to me and asked me like your expectations, and they're all hyped up. Like they're in my inbox, like, dude, we're gonna be so good. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna be good, like, but I'm not trying to get to that level.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to enjoy the first season where I'm not like, we still need a quarterback or we still need this, or it's nice to see us build in the right way for first time in my lifetime.
Yeah. And like the only thing that really holds me back is that we have like the second hardest schedule in the NFL, and it is rough. Like we have to play Kansas City and we have to play the Eagles and the Cowboy, like it's rough. So that's the only thing that's really got me concerned. But it's not that I don't think we can win those games, because I do think we can.
See, the thing is how I truly look at it is like I go back to last year. If you look last year, they said the Lions season was it was the easiest schedule of the season. If you go back and look at our last season, tell me how easy it was, because most of those teams all made the playoffs.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like you can base off like the strength of schedule based off of last year, but it could be totally different like as the year pans out.
Like, last year we started what, 0-6, 1-6, something like that. Our first game was the Eagles and they barely beat us. But they dominated the rest of the season and won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Or no, well, barely lost the Super Bowl, but they should have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm happy they kind of didn't, because I ended up hitting $200 off $5. So it played, Super Bowl played out pretty good in my favor. And I did not see me, like I didn't bet much last year. I plan to bet a lot more this year. But I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just gonna probably do a $5 parallel or parlay bet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did in the Super Bowl, and it hit. I'm like, okay, I can afford to bet $5 a week. And it was kind of nice. Like I picked Kelsey to score a touchdown anytime of the game. I had Philly's quarterback, I can't think of his name right now.
Hurts.
Hurts. I had Hurts. This is what scared me though, because I picked him to get a rushing touchdown anytime in the second half.
Okay.
And then before the first half was over, he already had 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he ain't getting 3. I said, it's hard enough to get 2 in a game, let alone 3. So, and then I had he's number 6, Smith. I think, Smith. Or not Smith. The one they got from Tennessee. Receiver. I can't think of his name now. I'm having brain farts all night tonight. But I had the receiver that they traded Titans for last season for.
I don't know.
When the show's over, I'll think of his name.
Yeah.
But I had him to score a touchdown, and he got it in the first half. So I'm like, cool. all I need now is KC to win by 4 or lose by 3 at the worst case scenario because they had the 4-point spread. And I need Hurts to score a touchdown in the second half. And then he got that, and KC won. And I was like, dude, fine. I'm like, I don't have good. To me, I don't gamble a lot because I don't have good luck.
Yeah.
Never been that person just to go scratch off and win $200. I'll win. I could buy 10 scratch offs and win $2 probably on 90% of them. So for me, it was like that was huge. I'm like, woo. And it made it just not that is I believe this year was a great Super Bowl. That game was so close.
It was.
And I think back to the parade, I think those things are the funnest.
Yeah.
I like Patrick Mahomes. It was his year that got really wasted.
Yeah.
They showed him where he left the trophy in the stands
Yeah.
and just walked away. That's pretty funny. I wonder if they have any good stories about the Lambeau Trophy.
I'm
I know
sure.
they've had some good stories about the Stanley Cup getting lost.
Mhm.
Because I know one time a team lost it in Canada, and some old lady found it, and she took it home and she made it a flower pot.
What?
So she took it home. She put flowers in it, and she didn't know what it was. She was just like some older lady that had it in her front yard as a flower pot. And when they finally tracked it down, that's where they found it was in her front yard.
No
Because whoever had it on a bus, and they were going somewhere with it, but the tires blew out on the bus, so they all took everything off the bus and got on another bus. Well, somehow somebody didn't grab the Stanley Cup, which you would think it'd be the first thing that should be on the bus, and somebody left it. And it's great. But there's been some really great stories with it. And that's the only thing I don't like about that. Like, I don't know if it's the NFL's fault for that, or maybe teams that don't release stories that's happened behind the scenes with it. But
I don't know. I'm gonna go to the Hall of Fame. Maybe those stories are detailed in there. I'll let you know.
You would have to let me know if they are.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good ones my mom's cousin's father was on his boat, and when the Red Wings won in '97, and he was on Lake St. Clair, which is 5 minutes from my house, and he seen this guy riding a jet ski, and he's like, "What the hell is on the jet ski?" And so he got closer to it, and he told his wife, he's like, "Dude," he's like, "that's the fucking Stanley Cup on the jet ski." So he got closer, and it was Steve Eiserman, with the captain of the Red Wings, on Lake St. Clair on his jet ski, and he had the whole cup strapped to the jet ski, and he was just on the water by himself.
Yeah, to me that seems irresponsible. Like that, any one person should not be able to take it anywhere, actually, let alone on a dangerous water sport.
No, that's that's the cool thing. I don't think the NFL does this for the players, but the NHL, when a team wins a cup, every player gets the cup for 24 hours, and they can do whatever the hell they want with the cup.
That's creepy.
It is creepy because I'm pretty sure some people probably did some creepy things, But there's cool things like Darren McCarty. They had Darren McCarty off the Red Wings. He had it on the back of his Harley, and it was running around town on his Harley. And then when he won it in '08, he took his kids to a local ice cream shop and filled the whole bowl up with ice cream. And all the kids at the ice cream shop got to eat ice cream out of the Stanley Cup. Actually in '08, cool story. I went to the Tigers game. I helped my grandpa's neighbor's son out, and he had a moon bounce for kids parties and stuff. He had a little rental business where he rented them out. So he asked me, "Hey, do you mind coming with me to set this up and packing it down?" And I was 14, 16, something like that. No, I was about 17 at the time. I was yeah, because I graduated the next year. So I was 17. So I was yeah, no problem. And when we got done, he's like, "All right, I'll call you when we get back from the Tigers game." And I'm like, "Well, I got a question. How much money are you gonna pay me? And I'm like, he's like, why? I'm like, because if it's not gonna be that much, like, I know you can get me like a $10 or $20 ticket for the Tigers. Like, just buy me my ticket and I'm call it even. And he's like, yeah, let me check with my dad, because it was just us were supposed to go, so I gotta make sure he's cool with it. And he was, so we all go to the Tigers game. And I'm like, and that's all I cared. I just want to go to the game, like $20. Who cares if I did $30, $40 worth of work? I was 17. I just want to enjoy the Tigers game. So we go to the Tigers game. We get out of the Tigers game, we get on the shuttle bus, and this girl comes in, and she's like she's in a tank top, and she's just ripping, soaking wet. And we all kind of like looked up because it's like 80 degrees out. It's sunny as could be. There's no water parks nearby us. So we're like, why is this girl just drenched? And she was like, guys, if you guys don't want to leave, the Red Wings are at Chelios's bar right across the street, and they're spraying everybody with champagne and letting people drink out of the Stanley Cup. And I'm like, no way. So we all go over there. And sure enough, we look on the rooftop of the bar. There's Nick Lindstrom. There's Yuri Fisher, all the Red Wings. Kurt Maltby and Draper were on the stage, holding the cup, filling it up with alcohol, and letting anybody drink out of it. Just partying with all the fans in the city.
Oh my God.
And the coolest thing for me out of it was like Nick Lindstrom just happened to be like right above me and just happened to be looking right down at me. And I yelled up to him like, Lindstrom, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you're the fucking greatest. Because to me, his stats don't lie. He's probably one of the best defensemen that ever played in the league. And he goes, no, I'm not. And I'm like, yes, you are. And Yuri Fisher turns around and goes, you're right. Yes, the fuck you are. And he's like, you know what? You come up. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, you come up. So I went up to the security to get up in the door, and the security guards wouldn't let me up. I'm like, hey, you just heard him. He said let me up. He's like, I can't. He's like, as much as I want to. He said, I can't. He said, if I open this door, he goes, you see how much people are out here? They will bull rush this door to get up there. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right at this point. But I've never seen nothing like that.
Oh my God, that's absolutely crazy.
It is crazy. Oh, matter of fact, I thought it was cool. They just said Aaron Gordon for the NBA, because Memphis just won the NBA championship. They said after the game, he was in the streets with all the fans partying, I guess, with the fans. So I see, that's the stuff I love.
I would love it if the Dolphins could do something like where we would have access to them.
Yeah.
During their celebration.
Yeah, that would be dope for all you guys.
I would love that.
Especially the people, who I think deserve it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy because I've never really heard, even with like Lambeau, I've never really heard like players get in a day with it at all. Like I feel like the parade and the partying, they get the hold the trophy.
Yeah.
But I've never heard if like they get the trophy for a day at their house. I think everybody gets a replica.
I don't know. I'm interested to go research that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to research that myself. Yeah. I know somebody told me everybody gets a replica, like the team, the players.
Yes, I've heard that.
Which that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't give you a day with the real thing.
I don't know. Maybe they do.
That's what I think the NHL, like all the media anyway. A lot of the media coverage, like I feel like they do pretty good on covering stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've never really paid attention to it much because it's not been my team.
Yeah, I actually got a buddy who played professional hockey. He played with he actually spent 4 years with the Buffalo Sabres organization. He never played in the NHL for them. But he actually got to play in some NHL games with the Senators, Ottawa Senators. He actually got a picture of when Stahl played with the Penguins. He actually got a picture on his Facebook. He laid him out in a game. which is pretty cool because I went to high school with this kid. So to see somebody actually playing in the NHL, hitting somebody that you've grown up watching, you're like, well, this
Yeah.
is cool. Like I didn't even know this is really truly possible to know somebody who actually made it to those levels. But fortunately for him, he basically became a star in the ECHL league, and he won a championship with the Comets. But so it was cool, like watching, like learning how hockey worked to them. And his buddy actually got called up to play for the Pittsburgh Penguins when they won one of their Stanley Cups. And his buddy didn't play no regular season games, and I think only played maybe a couple rounds. I think maybe the third round and the fourth round, and the third round of the conference championship series, and then the Stanley Cup. But in hockey, you got to play so many games for your name to actually go on the Stanley Cup.
Sure. Yeah. And that makes sense.
And sometimes, like even if you played and won the cup, and then like from what I've understood is the team has so many players that they can hand pick from and actually put them on the cup themselves, even though they didn't earn the amount of games. But there's only so many names that they could put on the cup. So he was actually lucky enough. I think he just played enough playoff games to actually have, or no, that's it. That's how he did it. He got lucky enough because he played all 4 games and he got to play a Stanley Cup game. That's it. Because if you play in a Stanley Cup series and your team wins the cup, your name's automatically on it because you were in the final round.
Yeah.
But he didn't get there until like right before I think he might have played like 1 or 2 games, if that.
Wow.
In the third round. And then he played the whole Stanley Cup finals round. And he was kind of stuck like my buddy in the minor leagues. And that's how he got his breakthrough and actually won a cup. And then he actually did win a 1-year contract deal because he played so good. And he actually did get to play, I think, 1 or 2 more years with the big ones in the NHL. But it was cool to see him with his day with the cup. Because like he took it to the local rinks, the younger kids, let them play with it, check it out. My buddy was actually home for off season as well, and he got to go hang out with them and party on his boat with the Stanley Cup and stuff like that. So it's just cool, and I just, the NFL standpoint, I wish they show that a little bit more often on the teams who won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool watching the parade, but then I kind of feel like after that, you don't really hear too much stories.
No.
About what they're doing. And, to me, that's what I love about sports. Like if I really like a player, regardless of on my team, I like to look up where he came from, college, what type of person he is, and stuff like that, And to me, I like any background stories on any teams.
Yeah.
If they
keep a lot of things hush.
Exactly. And to me, that's the only improvement I would like on the football aspect. Other than that, I think they really do pretty good preseason. I think Hard Knocks is awesome. I love Hard Knocks.
It's fun.
Yes. The actually crazy thing, I just seen a story that Hard Knocks are actually trying to convince the NFL but I guess Hard Knocks was actually trying to convince the NFL to run it back with the Lions again this year, and the NFL said no. We got to stay switching teams.
Yeah,
which I agree. I don't know if I would like to be on Hard Knocks again, but I did enjoy it. To me, it's awesome. You actually get to see what players and what your team is really going through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I think it's great. I just, I know like there's been times where like the team that was on Hard Knocks just didn't do well during the season. It's like, oh, all their like secrets were revealed during the show.
Yeah. That's the thing I was a little worried about. but I don't think it really played out on us. Maybe the Colts. It could have rubbed off wrong on the Colts because I didn't think the Colts were that good of a team per se, but their defense is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
So I thought their hardest team is Tennessee in their division. So I'm like, and before the Jaguars really came out. But going into last year, I'm like, the Colts could be a playoff team. Like their defense can keep them in their division. And then Hard Knocks came, and then the season came out. I'm like, well, maybe they got the jinx, and it must have skipped Detroit. Because at first I was like, man, I told my best friend in the beginning of how our season started, I was like, I told you we should have been on Hard Knocks. I said, look at what it's doing to us now.
Yeah.
So, definitely. But I do. Well, we're gonna wrap the show up. I didn't realize how late it got. I just looked at the time myself and went, holy crap.
It's been really fun though.
Yes, we had a great show.
We talked about a lot of different things.
That's why I love doing these things. Like I love finding somebody I can talk to and just keep the conversation going. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
I've had a couple people where it's like, man, shit, what am I supposed to talk about now? But it comes.
I can talk about anything, really.
Exactly. If you ever have time, during the season, maybe we can have you on during the season and get an update from you. But I do understand that once football season, you're gonna be busy, so we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, I'm hoping this season isn't as busy as the past. Once I turn it over to the next fan of the year, then some of the pressure's off of me.
Yeah. But hopefully this year could be the year.
Hey, if it is the year, I'm gonna be a corpse. So good luck.
I can see that.
I can't wait.
As long as we don't meet you in the Super Bowl.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad at it.
I wouldn't be mad at it either.
That could be really fun.
I think they would be. I would say that probably could be one of the most watched Super. I think they could be maybe even break a Super Bowl record.
Yeah, 2 underdogs.
Exactly. I don't think that's ever really truly happened.
No. I think that would be really fun, and people would definitely be behind that because it's not the standard teams that are always making it every year. So exactly. I'm here for that. Let's manifest it.
I'll do my best.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everything.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
So good luck to you on your season.
Thanks.
And I hope you enjoy it. And we'll be in touch.
All right. Stay in touch.
All right. Take care.
Fins up.